So now that we've imported our video into Tracker, we're actually going to start creating our parabola and our data by plotting the points where our object has travelled. So this is my video here, and we can play our video down here at the bottom. So mine was shot in extreme slow-mo. Now it just means that mine will have a lot more data points because there's more frames per second. And you can see here that my football is travelling in its nice parabola. Yours might not be in super slow-mo, and that's okay. It just means you'll end up with potentially less points for your data, and that's alright. You'll still be able to plot it. What you want to make sure is that your object actually lands within the frame of your video though, but hopefully you've already done this outside. So to start off with, what you might want to do is actually get to the point where you want to start tracking your object, and I would suggest that's the point where you make contact with it, or if you're throwing it, that you let go. So you can do that by dragging this little marker down here all the way to where yours is, and mine is around 200, I believe. So I've gone a bit far, I can come back. So you can just drag around and play around with it until you find the point where you're actually making contact with the ball. Now mine is there. So this is the point where I'm going to start creating my point mass, and that's pretty much what Tracker calls an object. So to do this, what we can do is actually zoom in on our frame. You can move around, all sorts of things. We want to follow this object here. So what we do is create up here a new point mass, and that's going to be how we map our object. So it's called in the Tracker Maths A. Now if you've got multiple objects, you could have multiple tracks going on, but you should only have one. So to start our auto tracking system, because it can track it for us, what we want to do is hold Control and Shift down at the same time. So you get this little round circle, and then you click on your object. Now it's created a template for your object, and in each frame it's actually going to try and match it as closely as possible. Now there are some little quirks with auto tracking system. Sometimes it doesn't quite match, and you might need to rearrange or redefine your template. So to do that, you just hold down Control and Shift again. But for this demonstration, I'm actually going to step you through a few first, and then we can have a look at the auto tracking system. So if you're a little bit worried that you might lose your object, say you've got trees in the background and it's a similar colour, or even something like this, I've got a house in the background which is pretty close to my football, you might not want to use the auto tracking software, and that's okay. You can just go step by step. So search the next frame. You can just hit up here at search next, and hopefully what it will do, if I keep clicking this, it will creating new points in my data. Now you also kind of get this tail happening. So it plots about 15 data points, and you can see the last 15. So you can sort of see my path, I guess. Now you can actually turn this off, but to start with, it kind of is nice to see where the ball's going. So if we keep going search, 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 it does the same thing, keeps plotting our point. Now what we can do is use our auto searching function. So that's this one here. Now you can turn it on, turn it off. Like I said, it does have some errors, so you might want to be careful with this, especially if you've got a busy background. So if we click up here on search, we're going through. Now you do get notes sometimes down here to accept and skip. You want to make sure you accept every time. If you skip points, it leaves you with errors in your data, and it's a little bit hard to fix sometimes, but it's doable. So you can let us know and we'll try and help you. The one thing you do want to watch out for is in this section here, if you get a big red message, you want to hit stop as soon as possible. So we can just keep going. So each of these is being mapped automatically. Now, of course, mine was in super slow-mo, so yours might have already hit the ground by now, but mine's going to keep going for a little bit longer. I'm going to skip ahead a little bit so you can see what happens when our ball hits the ground. So the next part you want to watch out for is the point where it hits the ground. So I might just zoom in here so I can see where it actually hits the ground. So you can map past this point. It just means that once you go into the data in Excel or even into Desmos later on in this prac, you're actually going to find that you get funny data at the end. So long as you know where those points are, you can take them out, but it's up to you how you want to do it. So if I keep going search next, hopefully I'm going to find that point where it's hit the ground, which I think is about here, but I might just go one or two more. So now I'm finding that it's actually coming back up again. So this is where I'm going to stop. So this is my data. Now, if you look at the auto tracking data, it does look like a line, but trust me, it is actually a parabola. It's just the way that it's plotted in Tracker. So once you're done with that, you can close, and that should be your point math. Now, what you can do to check, if I just zoom out, you can actually scroll all the way back to your video and play it from the start of your data. And hopefully what you'll see is the parabola starting to form. If you want to see the whole parabola, you can turn on the line up here and it will actually give you the whole idea. Now, this is going to be really handy if you find that you've got data that jumps about a bit. You can sort of see which points are the ones that jump. And if you do have an issue, you can click on the individual points up here and it will take you straight to that point, and you can accept, reject, whatever you need to do. So you'll see here that sometimes it plateaus, so it means that it sort of flattens out in the data and then it might jump up again. So those are the points that haven't quite mapped correctly. So that one is tracking your data.